So, I mean, as I think about it, what comes to mind is, one of the reasons, or one of the foundational songs, man, in my love for hip hop. No doubt, man. The group, Main Source. You know what I'm saying? The MC was Large Professor, aka Large P. And I'm thinking about the song Looking at the Front Door. And what does he say? He says, we fight every night. Now that's not kosher. I reminisce with bliss of when we was closer and wake up to be greeted by an argument again. You act like you 10, so immature. I try to concentrate on a cure and keep looking at the front door, thinking if I were to evacuate, you'd probably be straighter than straight and wouldn't have so much hate. But you don't know the pain I feel when I see you smiling. And when I roll up, you start wilding. I mean, foundational, one of the illest things. So the song basically talks about, the stress and the strife that he's having in terms of relationship with his girl. And he said, towards the end of the verse before the hook comes in, he said, but regardless, you shouldn't have to be so raw. I'm looking at the front door. And that's crazy because that's really, even then, it's nothing new. The same stuff that they were, dealing with in terms of relationships then, they still dealing with that stuff in relationships now. You know what I'm saying? But it's kind of different for marriage. Yeah, once you go into marriage, you can't just steady be looking at the front door, because what I've learned about marriage is that it requires you to be all in, right? So, if I would relate this to a biblical account, my mind goes to 1 Kings 19, where Elijah is called by God into the ministry, right? And it's crazy because Elijah knew that with God calling him into the ministry, that embracing his calling would mean that he would have to let go of his current career, right? So he had oxen, you know what I'm saying? And he tilled ground and all of that stuff. And so the oxen, what he did in terms of his oxen was more than just his career. It represented his family. It represented his trade, his heritage. Oh, not to mention his money, his income, right? And you know how men are. Don't touch our money. We real serious about our money. Don't mess with our money. But it's funny though, Elijah embraces this calling on his life into ministry. And to celebrate the ministry, he slays the oxen, kills them, and then uses the wood from the yokes of the oxen to boil the oxen and cook it. So they have a feast, and then my man is off into ministry. I'm talking about fully committed, right? And I'm saying with some of us, you got into marriage, but you're not fully committed. You know what I'm saying? What Elijah did was, I'm sorry, not Elijah, Elisha. What Elisha did was he burned his exit strategy. I'm going to say that one more time. He burned his exit strategy. In other words, he got rid of his exit strategy. He was all in, fully committed. He abandoned his family. He abandoned his heritage. He abandoned his trade and his money because he was committed to the calling that God had put on his life. And I'm saying in marriage that some of you got married and you halfway committed. To some of the men, you still got that little black book just in case. That ain't fully committed. You still got, when things get crazy between you and your spouse, you know what I'm saying, ladies, you still keep that guy friend close by just in case. And I'm saying that is not marriage. That is not full commitment. That's not being fully in. You feel me? And what that does is it opens the door for the thought process to start thinking about when things get rough, looking at the front door. In other words, exiting the marriage, divorce. You feel me? That ain't commitment, right? So I want to say this to you. If you're going to do this thing called marriage, you got to be fully in. Because here's the thing about marriage. Marriage requires love, right? Love requires commitment. And commitment requires burning your exit strategy. So do me a favor. Let go of the little black book, husbands. You know what I'm saying? Ladies, that dude that you used to know from way back when, that you used to, you know, that you ended up choosing your husband over him. If it wasn't your husband and it was going to be him, like, let that go. Yeah, burn your exit strategy. And for some of you, your exit strategy is not necessarily a tangible, you know what I'm saying, a tangible strategy that you put together, but it starts here in the mind. And for all of us who know how the mind works, the Bible says, whatsoever a man thinketh, so is he. So in other words, wherever your mind goes, your energy flows, right? So if your mind is thinking it or processing that information, it's not too long before your actions follow right behind it. Do me a favor, remember this today. You in marriage, be committed. You feel me? Remember what marriage is, or what it requires, I should say. Marriage requires love. Love requires commitment. And commitment requires burning your exit strategies. Do me a favor. Like my man Large P used to say, although he said, I'm looking at the front door. Do me a favor, stop looking at the front door. Burn your exit strategies, and more importantly, be committed.
You blow your finesse, trying to diss the professor, or 24 hours of acting sore. Sometimes I wish you come down with lockjaw.